Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Now, where we last left off with our app, we're able to sign up and log in. Yay. But now we want to actually be able to do stuff like, let me get this zoom thing off. Zoom, boo. But what we want to do is actually start being able to get our notes on the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to build our home and dashboard components, at least the early stages of them. So that way that's underway. So first I'm going to go run my servers again. So this is my backend. So let's run my backend server again. npm run dev. Let me run my front end full one. npm start. Okay. Yep. So this way all my servers are running. Okay, close these other windows. Okay, so let's just double check that I can still log in. Everything's okay. If I remember right, the username was test1 and cheese was the username. Yep, good. Okay, so that all still works. So let's create two new components under pages. New file home.js and new file dashboard.js. Okay, dashboard.js. Cool. And we're going to just get our boilerplate out of the way, so I'll just copy that from these. Control C. First I'll copy the dashboard. I'm going to pretty much delete everything in between these divs. Here we go. Let's get rid of the whole form. Let's get rid of everything except I'll still keep the G state. I'm probably going to want the access to that global state, so I'll keep that. This is now going to become dashboard. Okay, that's going to become dashboard. And this is going to become dashboard. Cool. And then I'll just put here right now h1 dashboard. Okay, let's duplicate this as home, although home probably does not need the global state. So I'll get rid of that because home is just going to be a static page that says, hey, you're not logged in. Okay, so I'll say, welcome. Please, I will do a p tag here. Please sign up, then log in to view your user dashboard. Okay, cool. So that's that, and this is going to be again home. So let's rename this home. Home. Let's go back to app. Let's import these. Import home from /pages/home. Import dashboard from /pages/dashboard. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change down here. Instead of this h1 that says dashboard, this is gonna become the dashboard component. And instead of this being home, this will be the home component. There we go. Okay, so now it should still be the same. And then see, now I'm seeing that home component. Welcome. Please sign up to log in your view dashboard. Okay, then I type in test1. Cheese. Ta-da. Yay! Okay. So we're able to log in, we're able to log out, we're able to sign up. It's all going. It's all coming together. Okay, so the next thing is we would want to render all, so we need to do an API call to get all the notes. Okay. That logic, that state should live in dashboard because we want it somewhere that's only going to be visible when you're logged in. We don't want it doing that API call when you're not logged in. So when dashboard first renders, okay, we'll do a use state. Okay, and in this case, we now want to also destructure the token from the global state on dashboard because we're going to need that. Okay, so let me think about that. Yeah, this should have the token. Okay. Cool. So now what I want is, I know there's a way to destructure an object within an object, but I totally forgot how that works. Or is it only can destructure an array of objects when you're destructuring an array? You can do some pretty crazy stuff with destruction. I have to go practice it later. Okay. Const. What am I looking for? We want to do a use effect, react.use effect, so that way when this page first loads, okay, it's going to make that fetch to get all of our, and then again put the empty array, okay, to get all of our notes. Okay, and since we're probably going to have to fetch the notes more than just here, I'm going to make a function for get notes. So const get notes. And I will just make this a normal function. I'll just, since I already have the fetch kind of written, I won't bother with the async await right now. So I go back to my test, look for when we grab, well, that's the create. So I guess I will use the async. Okay, so get notes. So this will make this async. And that's going to be to const response equals await fetch, and that's URL plus / notes. Okay. And then the second argument, we have to pass in the usual stuff. So we got to pass in the header, the method, which is going to be get. Normally I could just pass in the URL, but because we need the headers with the token, I still got to pass in everything. So headers, I don't need a content type header because we're not sending any kind of body. So all I really need to do is send a header that says authorization, and then again, I'll just use concatenation, bearer space plus token.token. Okay. Let me double check. Did I save it in the state as token.token? I think I did. State. We have the token. Oh no, it's just token. Okay, good. Token. Okay. Token. Okay, and then that should get the thing. So then we have to do const JSON equals await response.json. That gets us the data. And then we're going to want to hold all of our notes. So const notes set notes. We'll create a new piece of state. Equals react.use state. It'll start out as an empty array. Actually, I'm going to start it out as null. I always prefer null because then I can do conditionals off of it. Whew. Okay, null. Await const JSON. So then afterwards, we can just do set notes. And then set notes will just be to JSON. Okay, cool. So basically whenever I run this function, it'll go get the notes and set notes to JSON. So in my use effect, I'm just going to run get notes. It'll run it once, get the notes. Let's see if that worked. It should just be an empty array still. But let's see here if we go all the way down to dashboard. Nope, I have a state that's null. So that didn't do what I want. Console log. because that was a failed request. So let's take a look at the network here. Notes. Let's take a look at that. See, make sure that first. Let's make sure the headers look fine. So request headers, bearer. Yep, bearer with the token. That's fine. That looks good to me. Localhost. Think. Yeah, that's right. Unless I was wrong. Is it not notes? Is it actually note? Let's go back and look at our backend. Backend server.js. It is note. So it was just a typo. Okay, back to dashboard. Note. Okay, let's try this again. Let's go back to my components. Does it have it now? And yes, see there, it's getting the empty array. So that means I know it made a successful API call because it doesn't say null. It's supposed to get it back an empty array because I haven't made any items yet. So that's fine. Okay, but I have the data. Okay, now in dashboard, I want there to be a create component. Let me think if should I do it as another component or should I just do it as a form? I could make it a separate component and make it a route and be real fancy, but I'm not going to be real fancy. I'm just going to make a form here to create a note. Okay. So we're going to say new dashboard. Then below this dashboard is going to be h2 new note. And then below that will be h2 notes. Okay, that's where we'll put our list of notes once we render them, which, let me think about it, they're just an object with the username and note. So in that case, really, we could just map over them. So we just do a quick map. So I'm going to do a UL here. And then in that UL, I'm going to take notes.map. And then for each note, I might as well grab the index while I'm at it. I'm just going to return an li with a key that equals, actually I don't even need the index, I'll use the ID. So we're going to use the ID, so that would be the notes._ID, because that's what Mongo calls the ID property, and then in here will be the notes.note, or note.note, not notes. So note. There we go, and that will render the notes. So once there are actually notes, that will show up there. Okay, and then we need to create a form. For just one item, for just one form field, I'm gonna use a ref. Just seems like overkill to sit there and create another handle change, another handle create for one input form. So I'm just gonna create an input tag. I'm not gonna even create a form element. I'm gonna just say input type equals text. The name equals note. Okay, and then we'll have a ref, which we don't have yet. Okay. And then we're gonna have a submit button. Actually, we'll just have a normal button. I'm not gonna even bother with a button that's called submit. And then we'll just sit here, say create note. Okay, we'll take care of that in a second. We just need to create a ref. So I'll just do that here. Not super organized, but whatever. Const input equals react.useRef null. And then I want this input, that ref to be connected to that input. Good. So that means I can pull from that form using that reference. So now I just need to create the function that will pull from that reference. So again, this allows me to kind of use it like I would use an input when I'm using like jQuery, where I'm pulling it from like the actual DOM element. Const handle click equals, okay, we'll take the event. I'm not going to need the event, but I'll pass it in. First, we'll say const note. In this context, is going to equal the event. No, not the ref. Input. I think it's dot current dot value. We'll double check in a second. Just in case, I'll console.log the input. Make sure that I'm going for the right place, because it's the inputs the ref. Then this holds the current DOM element that it's referring to, and then here I can access all the properties from there, if I remember correctly. But we'll check. So with that information, now I can go do my fetch. Okay, and so in that case, let's go back to my test.html, and I will grab my create fetch. Okay, put that in here. Okay, let's just fix this. So this should be URL plus /note. Okay, and that's a post. Application JSON, bearer token, yes. Body JSON.stringify. We're just going to take the note because we created the variable note. Okay. And then essentially once it's done, all we're going to do is then do the get notes again. Just get an updated list of notes. So that way this refreshes. Actually, let me wrap this up in curly brackets because there is some other things I want to do. Get notes. At the same time, I also want to make sure I reset the form. So that would be input.current.value equals an empty string. Okay, so let's try that out, see if this works. Cannot read map of null. Oh yeah, that's right, I gotta make it conditional. Okay, so what we gotta do here is this, I gotta make conditional. So I'm gonna say if notes is not null, so that means the API call happened, then do the map. If it is null, because that would be falsy, then don't do anything. Okay, that should fix that. There we go. And then here's our new note field. Oh, I gotta style that button because I didn't style button tags. So let's go back to my index.css. I'll just do it the cheap way and just kind of add it to my list of things that are being styled by the style. Okay, there we go. So I will try, let's say breakfast will be our first note. I create a note. Now let's see here. We didn't see anything happen, which is a cause of concern. But let's see where errors may be. Failed prop 2 is marked as a required link, but its value is undefined. That's referring to login, which is fine. It's a warning. We just want it to look like a link, so that's, we can ignore that. Let's go to network. Oh, I know what happened. So see, I don't even see the failed request. I don't see any sign of anything going wrong. It's because I never connected the button to the function. So on click equals handle click. Okay, so that way that function runs anytime we click the button. Yes, sirree. Let's do that again. Breakfast. And it worked. Okay, so you created a nice little note. Okay, I mean this little dot over here is kind of annoying, but we can fix that. Okay, let's see if I add another one. Cool. Okay, so at this point, our app, we are now able to see and add notes. Now, if I log out and I create another user, so we'll say test2 cheese. Okay, signed up. No, I don't really care. So test2 cheese. See there, I don't see those notes because it's a separate user. And this user can do other stuff. Blah, 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 blah. And I see that. But now if I log out and go back into test1, log in back with test1, cheese. There's those notes for that user. See, magic. Okay, and the reason why that works is because, again, our token is telling our API who the user is. Again, it decodes the token, finds the username in there, and it's making sure that any action that's going through our API only affects that user because it's working off that username from the token. So the big vulnerability here is if someone gets your token and starts making a request to the API with your token, they can do things. Okay, so that's right now one vulnerability. The second vulnerability is I don't check to see if you delete or update an item. You do need the auth token, but I don't double check to make sure that what you're editing or what you're deleting is the same user. So you could theoretically use like Postman and like get your token and then edit and delete the stuff of other users. So those are just two vulnerabilities that currently exist. And the reason I'm pointing them out is so that way when you're making your apps, take the extra time to fix those. This is, again, just a quick walkthrough in building an app like this. But things to think through, because you always kind of want to be thinking like, if I was someone who is malicious, what can I do? So since I'm storing the token in local storage, and my tokens have no expiration, if someone can get access to my local storage, they would perpetually have. So setting an expiration to your tokens, maybe not storing exactly the token in local storage, or maybe somewhere else like session storage, or maybe even more ideal in another database somewhere that you make a separate call to, and you find some sort of other steps to make it harder for someone to get that token when you don't want them to. And again, adding some checks when you delete an update to make sure that not only are they authenticated, but that they're deleting something that matches their username, or they're updating something that matches their username. So keep those in mind. But yeah, this is working pretty cool so far. Okay, next we're gonna add delete, but let's fix those bullets. Cool. Okay, I don't think there's really any other ULs in this app, so I'm just gonna style the UL straight up. So I'm gonna do that up here since it's just gonna be sort of a global style UL. I think it's like list style is what I'm looking for. List style, and I want none. There's a whole bunch of options. Thank you, VS Code, for always giving me all my choices. So I don't have to go look them up every time. So see there, that got rid of the button. I also want those LIs to look a bit better. Or I don't need to change the LIs. What I can do, let's go back over here and wrap the insides of the LI with an H3. Cool. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Not perfect alignment. Okay, because it's imagining that this dot should be there. And I'm not sure why notes is aligned so... where is it? Notes, or I think it's this that's aligned a little funky. We can fix that. Let's go to index.css. I want to make the UL width 50%, so that way it doesn't take up the full width of the screen. And I'm going to give it a margin of 10 pixels auto, so that should center it, the auto part. And that should look a little bit better, but no, it's still not. Something weird about that spacing. But that definitely looks like it's centered with all of these. It's that bullet. I have to figure that out later. So it's not just, I don't want to just get rid of the bullets and make the bullets disappear. But I want to reclaim that little space, that margin. Okay. So maybe I have to do that in the LI. So let's do LI margin 0. See if that makes this thing look a little bit better. Not really. Okay. I know there's a way to get rid of that spacing that those bullets take, but We're not going to play around with it too much now. What I do want to do is actually commit our code. What we should have been doing all along, and this is something you should get in the habit of doing. I've just been in tutorial mode, but you do want to make sure that you have a Git repository in your project and that you're committing after like every action. So technically after we did sign up, we should have committed. Then after login, we should have committed again. Then after logout, we commit again. After every kind of milestone, you commit. It makes it easier for you to follow your code and see your code's evolution in its commit history. So I initialize a Git repository. I'm going to add all the files. Git commit-m update. Well, actually, I want to put so we'll just say first commit. But usually you want to put a much more like descriptive commit. Okay, and then let me do this again in the backend one. Okay, and I do want to get rid of that console log at some point, so I'll come back to that. Git init, git commit -m, first commit. Did I not do a git add? I did not do a git add. Git add dot, that adds everything in the current folder and below. Git commit -m, first commit. Now let's push this code up to GitHub. So that way if you want to look at the code, you can find where you can look at my code, github.com. So I'm going to create a repo called React Express Notes backend. So this will be the backend repo. I'll just copy, and that's going to be a public repo. I'm not going to initialize it with anything because everything's already kind of local. Then all I really care about, you can just about ignore this. Don't bother with this. Okay? All you need is to, actually all you really need is this URL. We just want to add the remote, and the way we do that is we just do git remote add. I'm going to call it origin because it's always the default. I paste the URL and we add it, and now I can push origin master. Okay, cool. So that's the backend. So now if I go over here, okay, and I refresh the page, there's my code. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to create another repo. But this time it's going to be front end. Then I hit shoot create repository. And then once again, I want to copy the URL. And it's again git remote add origin is what I want to call it. Paste the URL. Oh, no, I'm still here. I'm on the backend repo. 1 second. Let's switch over to front end. Git remote add origin. And then git push origin master. Cool, and you can actually push it to multiple repos. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll push it to all the three major remote repositories, which is GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. You know, there's no cost of making a public repo in all three, and you know, it's just additional backups. And you can make all of them individual remotes in your project. So you can instead just call your remotes GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket instead of calling it like Origin or whatever. So, you know, you have those options, and you can even push it to multiple repos in the same place. You can actually have it separate GitHub repos as separate remotes in your same project. So, you know, sky's the limit. Okay, and with that, I think that's pretty good for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video where we will do delete and update.